Alright guys, here we're going to talk about Season 1, Episode 11 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Out of Mind, Out of Sight. Alright, so we're at the end of the year almost. The school dance is about to happen. That's always interesting.
The May Day dance, yes,
Yeah.
whatever that is.
You know, that's not what we called it
No,
where I went.
it's a California thing or
it's
something.
it's a different thing. Very early on in this episode, we start off with another one of those like kind of cringy moments for me, where like it's like a tell, where Buffy like trips and for whatever reason is carrying all this medieval weaponry,
Yeah.
and it spills out, and she kind of gets that like nerd kind of approach to her, but she has she has weapons we've never seen her use.
Yeah.
She has like a mace, there's a cross, a stake, it's like all kinds
She's
of
like,
shit.
I bet you're wondering why I have all of this, and then Cordelia is like, oh my god, no, I'm not, or some
Yeah.
weird thing. I was like, oh, it's hilarious. There's a lot of funny. So like, I like that scene not because of her being full of weird, weapons or whatever, but because like the point of view is not on Buffy, it's on Cordelia.
Yes.
And we follow her for a while, but they don't have the guts to do it the whole time, so it becomes like a normal episode, like
yeah.
a third of the way in. But we had an awesome little moment there where I'm like, oh, does this show do that? Do you follow? Is it going to be a Xander episode where it's just his POV? It's like, no, I don't know. But they dabble, and I appreciate that.
Yes. So we before we get to like the intro music intermission here, that we find out what our monster of the week is. It is a
Floating bat.
Floating bat. So, but it is enough to tease the mind. We're like, okay, what are we dealing with? Do we have a ghost? Is it like what do we have here? Okay, this could be something fun.
Is it a witch? We can handle a witch.
Is she a witch? Because we can fight a witch.
I do like the little callbacks. That, like you have a couple in this episode, things just like how you're bringing up there now.
Yes.
I know. I kind of like though that like this douche who kind of besmirches Cordelia's good name here, which is funny because like for somebody who is perceived as like the bimbo kind of the school, this popular girl, the cheerleader, the whatever, and she does make a couple of like tasty snack comments. She's not kind of that like sleep around type. At least you don't get that vibe from her. So when you first see this like skinny jock dude say this like oh, I want to get more than blah blah blah, or whatever the fuck his line is.
You gotta look good to be on Cordelia's arm.
Oh, it's not her arm I'm looking to be on.
You're like, yeah, hit him with the bat.
Oh, my sweet angel Cordelia. What the fuck? Yeah.
But this is a developmental episode for Cordelia.
It is.
So like you kind of get to see inside, a little peek behind the curtain.
She's strangely self-aware.
Yeah.
And to like spoil the whatever and get to the ending part, right? I thought, like in my head, I was like, oh my god, is this how Cordelia enters the fold? Is she gonna have a scar? Is she gonna like help them from now on? And I still don't know if that's true, and I'm not gonna make eye contact with you in case it is or is not. But they have a little thing at the end where she goes like, hey, thanks guys, like you helped me, I appreciate that.
It's funny because she looks like Cordelia.
You really helped me out yesterday, and you didn't have to. So thank you.
Yeah.
And then they humorously undercut it by having her
Yes.
friends show up and say like, why are you talking to this trash? And she's like,
Are you kidding? I was just being charitable, helping them with their fashion problems.
oh my god, you're right. Yeah, they're gross.
But even having had that moment at all, that is
I'm hoping
that
it
is the
plants
start
a seed.
of something.
Yes,
Exactly.
Exactly. But I really wanted her to have a scar forever. And I doubt they're going to do that.
No.
Right?
Even that cut was very mild because we saw
Yeah.
her the next day and it was
And it's like a red
all
line.
but gone.
It's
Yeah.
like
I didn't get a chance to say anything yesterday with the coronation and everything.
she like slept weird and something.
Yeah.
It's great. Yeah, I know.
That was just a
But
wrinkle
still.
of the sheets.
Yeah, exactly.
But you
Like
not
necklace.
only do you like have that moment where it's humanizing, she has the bits in class
Mm-hmm.
where you're like, oh, she's actually kind of smart. She's citing things.
She does call that like Jewish guy a whiner though, and I was like, I don't know what character she's talking about, but this guy, it's the famous "If you cut us, do we not bleed?"
Yes,
like, why are
yes.
you not treating us like people?
Which
She's
has
like,
a
"Can he-"
thespian of a teacher really
Yes.
selling that. I'm like, you should have got a real teacher. That's clearly an actress.
And if you wrong us, shall we not revenge?
Cordelia's like, can that dude get over himself, please? And I was like, oh my god, she sucks. And then the teacher's like, very insightful comments. And I'm like, wait, what?
She like either unwittingly or purposefully calls out the Twinkie defense.
Everyone looked down on him.
That is such a Twinkie defense. Shylock should get over himself. People who think their problems are so huge craze me.
And like does different things in that, and
Okay.
I'm like, okay, it at least alludes to there's more happening than you
Yes.
see.
And
then when
teachers-
she says
yes.
the kind of deep cuts of like, just because I'm with people doesn't mean I'm not alone type
That's
of thing.
that's
I
the
was like,
kicker.
all right, you're a person. I like
Yes.
that.
You think I'm never lonely because I'm so cute and popular? I can be surrounded by people and be completely alone.
I think teachers like respect any student that does anything besides just sit there like a lump of dirty laundry, right? And then yes, at the end she says like, no, I know what's going on. They're too busy waiting to like agree with me and praise me, and they aren't even listening to what I say. And Buffy's like, oh fuck, and it's like, well then why are you doing all this popularity stuff? Goes, well, being alone is a lot worse than being alone with all these people.
And that's
like,
super
oh
good.
My God.
I love that.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I was like, this is great. This is wonderful.
Well, it beats being alone all by yourself.
Yeah. Exactly. And it's so funny because like your comment here about like, oh, a teacher's just like anyone who's not a lump of clothing. Like there is this girl actively like, me, pick me. I have an answer. Clea Duvall in like one of her first roles, she had to be a teenager at this point.
Yes.
I'm probably 18,
12,
maybe
obviously.
19.
Yes.
But yeah, super early on, and I'm like, oh, awesome. And I remember seeing something with her where she's like a huge fan of the show. And like, you know, got to be in this episode, however mildly she is the invisible girl, so you only see her in like 3 actual scenes, I think, maybe even 2, as a real person.
Yeah,
in like a sepia fucking flashback.
Because there's montages of her being ignored.
Yes.
Because that's the other thing. And this is corny and bad, but I also loved it because the way they play it off. Because like Xander says like, wait, so everyone ignored her to the point where she disappeared, and then Giles like pounds the table. Of course.
I've been investigating the mystical causes of invisibility when I should have looked at the quantum mechanical.
Why am I thinking about the paranormal instead of the quantum mechanical? And
Yes,
starts running around. I'm like, this is what the fuck? And then it's like, that's it. And there's a montage of her being ignored and being snubbed, and then she just starts to Marty McFly.
Yes,
like,
she's Back to the Future's
I'm
right
like,
out.
what the fuck is happening?
I love that. And to jump to like the button, the Cliffy, the thing at the end here, where there's a whole school of them. She's collected by the FBI, first of all, which is so funny to me.
It would be best for you to forget this whole incident.
Obvious X-Files reference.
Well, kind of, but it's
so.
such a weird thing because think about what was actually displayed that would have tripped off the FBI. Oh, I was hit by like an invisible bat. There's fucking dozens of paranormal, crazy, unexplainable things happening here, like daily. That is the one that gets you.
Someone ate a science teacher's head.
Yes.
And they're just like, next. And now it's like, wait, invisible bat, let's go. Because they had to get there in time to do all this, right?
A teacher was eating at his desk.
Whatever.
But that's what's so funny to me is like, like they're there. You think at first, oh, that's like cops. They're doing an interview or something. You're like, oh no, only Buffy and her friends do interviews. The best.
I know where you're going with this.
Like there ever was is in this episode. Is like the guy just got beat down with a bat and he's on a gurney and the EMTs are taking him away and he's like, hey, so what happened? And like they stop.
Exactly. They stop like, oh wait, sorry, a law enforcement official, one of your classmates is talking to you.
Good.
Mitch, what happened?
I don't know. I heard something. I tried to grab a bat. It hit me.
What hit you?
The bat.
Like I'm like, what are we to believe? This world is so fucking fake.
We just talked about how it's kind of weird though, like, oh, hospital visiting hours, like, who are you? I'm a junior detective, I guess, and this is my creepy teacher. Let's ask you on your, well, she was traumatized. Okay, I'm just gonna ask her to like explain in detail what happened, and just go in and just let her do it. That's crazy. And now here, yes, literally, and like they're trying to poke little holes in it where the principal is onto her now. So he's like, what are you doing? Like, that's a crime scene. And she's like, oh, fake excuse. And he goes, no fake excuse. And then these scoobs have to be like, diversion. And then he goes, what diversion? And goes over there. And then she gets to go inspect the entire crime scene, leave fingerprints everywhere, touch everything. It's amazing. Yes. No, I'm liking it.
I love it so much. No, it's so good. There's the little bit of callback to like the don't sue thing, like Harmony, who I think gets first named in this episode because we saw her in the first 2 episodes, but I don't think she was called Harmony.
Like,
I blew it early and said Harmony.
You were like, that's a character that's going to return. I'm like, I don't care about this character.
Yeah. But that's Harmony, called out by name in this episode. She like gets pushed down the stairs and like tumble. Some mistakes there with costuming and the stunt woman, but we'll forget about that. And he's like, don't sue.
Don't sue.
Yeah. And I love his first thing is like, are you okay? Who's the principal here? Are you okay?
No, that was a classic Whedon like beat.
What happened?
Hey, who's the principal here?
What happened?
Listen, you. I ask the questions. Asks the same question, right? That old nice bread and butter jokes here, right? It's good though. I like it though because this principal's new relatively, right? We need to flesh him out and understand the character a little more, and we're doing that, right? Where he's got a nice, because they even do the old audio thing where it's like, oh my God, it's Jim. He's blah blah blah. I think he's dead. He's not dead. What are you guys? A bunch of like whatever.
Bunch of ghouls.
Ghouls. I was gonna say I forget the the word that he used. But yeah, it's like, come on, what are you talking about? There's no dead kids here. And I'm like, only till next week, motherfucker.
No, but he says there's no one died here today.
Dead? Of course not. Dead. What are you, ghouls? There are no dead students here. This week.
Okay.
Like, he even like says that, or this week. It was something like that, but
good.
He put the button on it. I was like, all right, you got it.
Because that's funny. Because he's like, why would you assume someone's dead?
He's like the perfect like weenie of a principal that's like trying to be this hard ass, but people do seem to fear him. But you look at him, and you're like, you can't hold water. You're like a piece of shit.
You should be playing a Ferengi on Voyager.
Not wrong.
It wasn't him. I was like, I think it's him.
It's not, but he has the head for it.
It's the head for it. Yes.
He does.
Because I'm a people person.
We had an appearance by our boy, Angel, in this episode. I think it's been a little while. Was he in the dream one at all?
No, I don't believe he was in that episode at all. And this is the first time Giles meets him.
Yeah.
Also establishing, if it's not already been said, that they don't cast a reflection.
Sure.
They don't breathe.
Yeah, which I'm always like, I don't like to nitpick things, but this comes up a lot where sometimes someone doesn't have to breathe, and I'm like, well, you are choosing to though, because you're making noise. So like, how do you do that? Unless you're breathing, unless you're like something else. But hey,
I don't quibble. I just pull out small, little, minute details that annoy me, like having a footprint on the chair, meaning that her clothes are invisible. Things like that. Those are the things that I.
No, you prefer meaningless things.
Yes.
Not like things that impact the whole thing. Sure. No, yeah, he comes in to save them, basically. They get trapped by the gas. I liked this whole setup.
Yeah, because she gets tricked with the fucking flute and the boombox.
Was she eavesdropping on them when they said, I heard a flute the other night? Like was that a full circle or almost?
We have to assume she's always around because she's invisible. We know at least at one point she was in the library stacks watching them talk, so presumably she's always around.
Okay, so that covers us for the whole thing.
I believe so.
She sets up like a boombox running on some C batteries or something, playing the flute thing that she must have
been plugged in.
I'm just joking, But you gotta paint the picture, this big old plastic thing. But like the minute they like go into that place, I'm like, oh no, it's this, and then it pans to shelves. I'm like, oh no, it's this. It's great. Yeah. They, she lures them in there. Literally tries to commit multiple murder now. Yeah. It's getting like real.
Her murder level stuff is very weird for me. So like, Buffy, who's like in her house stealing her shit, doesn't get stabbed. But the teacher who didn't pick her gets like almost choked to death. Yeah. This is an interesting level of escalation.
She's really bad at murder too.
Well, she's not good at it. She has to take the class.
She hasn't gone to
Murder You yet.
Invisible Academy.
Everybody turn to page 54 of your texts.
Yeah. She has a message. She has like look, listen, learn.
Yeah.
And like the first one is spray painted on the locker, and I'm like, oh, she was carrying spray paint around with her?
Just a floating.
Like that's what I wonder. Well, in general, I wonder because clearly she is wearing the clothing that she was wearing. Because again, there's a footprint of a boot.
Yes.
And if she's wearing shoes, she's probably wearing everything. Yeah. So can she change? Does anything she puts on become invisible, or is she stuck in her stinky clothes? Like
this is some of the best invisibility for that reason. Because if it's a quantum thing where she's like unobservable, then potentially yes. Potentially, most people's brains have to not see her, and they will do whatever they can to not do that.
But shouldn't whatever she's touching also become invisible?
The bat should do that too, but I think maybe if you get hit with something, it might. I don't know, but I love it.
Or even if
it's
it
got
was
a lot
just
of potential,
her hand would be invisible on the bat, so there'd be a break in the bat.
Right.
Would have been I've never seen someone do it that way, and that would have been very interesting.
Right.
But I get what you're saying, and I do enjoy it.
Like if she was sitting in like a chair for long enough, you couldn't see the chair either, or something like that. It'd be this weird. I'm like, oh, this is interesting.
That'd be a cool. Where did that chair go?
Yeah. Like this is
Like,
more.
your eyes just.
This is more interesting to me than like other types of like I'm wearing an Iron Man suit that has little
Yes,
cameras,
yes,
or I
for
drink I drink a potion or whatever. Now that and like as dumb as that like quantum thing is, because I was just like, what year is it? It's the 1997. It's quantum fucking no. The nanomachines are attacking. Like it's this very like dated sci-fi sort of trope now. But I still you know it got my brain going about that sort of thing where it's like, wait a minute. How does this work? Yeah.
I did hate Angel saving them from the basement, though.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, I just happened to come by. I was going to deliver you that prophecy book that I know where it is and can find at a day's
It
notice.
was only misplaced stuff.
Yes.
I came in through the basement. I smelled the gas.
Like that kind of stuff.
Dude, the bonding when like Giles like, oh, you have the book? He like turns around like a lost puppy where you're
They
like
have a real
rustling the
nice little
treats.
conversation.
Yes,
They're like
it's great.
buddies. I'm like, okay, this gets good.
Not lost. Misplaced. I can get it.
Because Giles instantly recognizes like, oh, a vampire in love with a slayer, and then
almost poetic.
Angel's like, fuck, all right, good, and then way at the end, Buffy's like, what happened to you guys? And
Yeah,
he's like,
he covers his back.
not Angel, definitely not Angel. Right?
Yeah.
He like doesn't say anything. Like, oh, this is a neat little, because now Buffy may feel betrayed if she somehow finds out that Giles knew or something.
Well,
like
Giles
that.
has been a firm believer in bro code for like a while now. So
He's covered for Xanders.
Covers all the boys.
Who will carry the memories of almost like sexually assaulting, Buffy or whoever
course.
forever now. Which will never be addressed. That's fine.
I think it does get addressed, actually.
Oh no! Spoilers!
I've never actually heard of anyone attacked by a lone baseball bat before.
Maybe it's a vampire bat.
Something that's weird, and it may never be said before or after this ever again, is Giles refers to the Master as the Vampire King in this episode.
I didn't catch that.
And that, I don't know if it was a weird like writing error or mistake thing, because again, I don't believe it's ever established again, and to call him the Vampire King is weird, because again, I think even the Master is a self-given title, unless that's how he referred to himself in a book too. I don't know. It's very strange. Something I think that I think stuck with me in this episode is the moment that Cordelia is handing out those C candies and like shuns Buffy and doesn't give her one.
Here's a chocolate. Oh, I don't think I need the loony fringe vote.
I'm like, that's the cruelest shit there ever was. Because like you could picture that shit like, oh, not you. I don't need the freaking weirdo vote or whatever she says. And but like her face, well, I don't need chocolate anyway, or whatever the fuck.
That was a horrible comeback.
Yeah. But that I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
Bastard.
It does feel like a different Buffy, though, I think, to your original point of, like, the one who's dropping things and going, like, I don't want chocolate anyway. Like, she even acts different, but it's not like a put-on. It's not like she's doing it to misdirect people because no one's there.
No.
She just sometimes acts like the Valley Girl of, like, the right? So it's we're still ironing out the kinks and
Season
stuff.
one, like, a little bit different than everything else wise. Like, it is the more goosebumpsy season, the more Are You Afraid of the Dark season. But it's still great. It is what establishes these characters, and we go from here.
Yeah.
Do a pretty good thing. But like Cordelia sucks it up and does ask for help, and I thought that was good. And even the way she does it is vaguely insulting.
I know we've had our differences with you being so weird and all, and hanging out with these total losers.
Like Giles, like, and who are you? I haven't seen you before. Oh, I have a life.
I have a life.
I like that kind of stuff.
This is all about me. Me.
Wow, for once she's right.
For once, she's not just full of it. Like, all those
I
things.
thought you were in a gang and you were very strong. And they kind of just like sit her down and talk about it very candidly. Like essentially being like, okay, there's demons and shit, and this is an invisible girl, and blah blah blah. The world's like, and she didn't take any explaining at all, no convincing. She's like, okay, and I don't know if that is a good thing or a bad thing plot wise.
Okay,
is it like? Yes, well, obviously, somebody pushed her. I saw a thing happen. Things are strange. Who wrote that? I saw writing. Okay, I will believe what you say. Yeah. But I think most people, even presented with like almost concrete evidence of words appearing in front of them, if you said there's an invisible girl, I'd be like, what?
I'd be a little skeptical.
Like, well, how else would you explain that? Of course that's what it is. And it could be that she's just smart enough to realize, or are they saying she's dumb enough to just believe?
I'm not sure.
It could go either way, and I'm not sure how they're supposed to take it.
I took it, though, to be part of her induction, right? So that's why I was kind of like disappointed if that's not it or whatever, but I won't acknowledge that. Yes, no, that's a great conversation that they have going back and forth. To explain this stuff. There's a part there too that I love where they're like breaking down the plan. Okay, you go here, you go there, whatever, and we'll use Cordelia as bait. And she's like, okay, great, bait, and does the whole thing. But she like delivers it really weird. The line was very strange.
Great, bait.
I thought, but I liked it. I don't know.
There's a fantastic line in that exchange that I love, where Xander's like, "There's homework now?"
If you're not doing anything, would you like to help me?
What, so there's homework now?
Yes.
And I think just that's his best line, I think, for the episode. Seconded only by, "Hey, Willie, you want to come in for dinner? My mom's making her famous call to the Chinese place." Like the two MVP lines for me of the episode.
There's some cringe, though, with them, with Willow and Xander.
Oh, yes.
When they're...
Anytime you try to do inside laughter jokey things,
yes,
it never tracks properly.
Remember in 6th grade with the field trip?
Right, the guy with the antlers on his belt.
Be my deputy.
And remember the hat?
I think Willow does like an admirable attempt to like make this work. I'm not sure how ad-libbed it is or what they're doing even really, but like they are exploring this concept that Buffy will like never be as much of an in the group, because she's like, well, I was the queen of whatever at my old school, and they're like, oh, idiots like that, and then they continue this weird, oh, well, they have inside jokes because they've known each other in this school
Since
system.
they were kids.
Yeah, and I'm new here, so I'm never gonna quite click with them. But then we kind of leave that behind, so I'm assuming that's gonna be a thing later. Hopefully they just drop it though, because I hate it. But yes, cringe.
I will agree with you, and I very rarely ever see that kind of like familiarity and laughter where I'm like, I believe it completely.
It felt like a Saved by the Bell bit. It felt like a weird, like, wow,
not too dissimilar.
This doesn't play in this zone.
It was the weak part of the episode.
Yeah.
Something I thought was an odd part of the episode is like Clea Duvall's character Marcie, the Invisible Girl, as you may know her, has like a doctor's bag and like injects Buffy and like knocks her out. Has like a tray of surgical tools, which she's gonna like joke her up fucking Cordelia's face.
So that's
not before she also injected Cordy's face to be numb, so she would stay awake during the procedure.
So like this is when things go cray cray.
Yes.
Buffy's been like defeated or knocked down, at least, and then a syringe like comes in and like injects her. Like, who's invisibly injecting? You established it was one of your classmates. What's happening?
Yeah.
Right.
And that they don't ever go like, oh, her dad was a dentist or anything that could remotely be an explanation as to how she has anything like that.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that stuff has to get refrigerated. I don't think you can just leave it in a bag.
True. No, yeah, and I don't know, like
botulism.
Like things also get very real at that point.
Oh yeah.
Where like, like she's potentially tied them both up and is now going to like medically torture them while being invisible, which is terrifying, right? Whatever, right? I'm not sure how though the invisible chick is able to hold any sort of thing to Buffy at all. And like
just invisibility.
But like, couldn't a normal person punch Buffy and she wouldn't like take it that hard?
Plot
like,
convenience, because when she's tied up, she gets punched once. She's like, oh.
Yeah, she's getting like knocked.
Marcie, you know this is wrong.
You should have stayed out of my way. You know, I thought you would understand my vision, but you're just like them.
Knocked down or something,
yeah.
by this person, and then she square punches her like twice, just straight punches her, and then has a full on like not even like invisible guessing, just straight clocks her.
That's the one that knocks her out.
Well, she gets knocked down.
The other one, you could argue that maybe she didn't connect all the way because she's invisible.
But I think
is the only way you can justify it.
My argument is that it should have killed her. It should have, her like head should have burst like a pumpkin on, 2 weeks after Halloween. It should have been like, just been like dead.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Hey, whatever. I don't know how hard vampires are.
When she breaks in to help Cordelia, who's getting pulled, well, you can see she's obviously crazy strong because she pulls Cordelia up into the ceiling.
Buffy!
I know.
And Buffy doesn't like break the lock, like push it lock through or break the knob. She punches through the door. Yeah. I don't know if you recall school doors. Those are solid wood doors in schools. Ooh. So that might be one of her best displays of strength, honestly. Sure. So like right through. So that is to what you're saying. Much thicker than Skull. She'd be busting face.
Yeah, just shatter her. Yeah. But yes, Clea Duvall must have gotten quantum superpowers because yes,
it's possible.
You're absolutely right. And I was actually sure now that I'm like reminded of it that you were going to tear this part apart. Where she's like sucking her up into the ceiling.
Yeah.
Like, how are you doing that?
Well, because I think they show it halfway through. You don't
you don't really know
see what the grip is.
She could have.
Because I'm like, did she get a noose around her neck and pull her up? Did she
have
get a lasso around her side like she's Dick Dastardly? Or
like she could have like a pulley system or something. But I'm sure she doesn't.
I don't think she does.
Unless it's invisible as well, which would be great. But still, no, she doesn't. Obviously, does not have that. And then we get like a stunt woman doing like the weird like gymnastics to get up into the ceiling, which I like a lot because they keep doing that, but I like it. It looks
I like it too.
It works really well because
It does.
This was like a longer clip, but usually the clips are so short and it's like mid-fight scene where like someone stands up really cool like a ninja, but then it's Sarah Michelle Gellar again doing like this and something like that, and you're like, oh wow, this is really the micro clips of like the stunt person and stuff. So I like that. But yes, she did a weird like up into the ceiling. I'm like, all right, cool.
Have a nice summer is what you write when you have nothing to say.
It's the kiss of death.
So something that I thought was really strange was Cordelia is getting ready for the dance at the school. She's in a classroom that looks like it's all like feng shuied out with lights and like a changing like shine light through thing, and like has a little army of peasants like doing her up.
No, it's like Cinderella putting the dress on or something.
But
weird
why
thing.
would you do that at the school? That's so weird. And then the party, or like the coronation as I think they call it, is at the Bronze. And I'm like, that's weird too.
Yeah.
Like local nightclub, host of like our coronation of May Queen, and you get ready at the school. Very weird.
We don't know these people's customs. It could be anybody.
Well, I think it's just that we couldn't afford to do another set, and we just used.
You can't show like another prom or something like that.
They probably could just use like Willow's room again and just change the posters, and you could have had her get ready there. I thought that was strange. I liked the in the beginning. You see like the showers of their school. I'm like, those showers were awesome. Everyone had their own like little stall. Showers in my school was one big square room with just shower heads. Like there was no privacy. I'm like, that would have been a fucking luxury item. That would be great.
I never took a shower at school.
I like the cups. This is a weird thing to call out. The cups in the lunchroom are the cups that I remember from like the early 90s.
My God.
Like the yellow and the orange, like oh yeah, I'm at Roy Rogers, what up, like kind of cups.
Oh my God. I have no idea what you're talking about.
And then there's a funny line with Cordelia when she's like traumatic events are all in the eye of the beholder or whatever. I remember when I hit the girl with her car, she made it all about her. Did she care that was the most traumatic day of my life? She's just shot in my leg.
Right. Yeah.
Funny
this
stuff.
reminds me of like a George Carlin thing where he's like, listen, I don't, think about this. I've just hit someone with my car. They're having a horrible day. Police are on the way. We don't need several versions of the story floating around. I'm gone. It's going to be very simple for them to talk. And just be like, so yeah, it's like flipping it all around.
Like this time I sort of ran over this girl on her bike. It was the most traumatizing event of my life, and she's trying to make it about her leg. Like my pain meant nothing.
During that last like fight scene, Giles makes comment like, you gotta learn to listen, and it comes into like, I gotta fight silently, and he's like, Cordelia, shut up, and she's like, okay.
Cordelia, shut up.
Yeah.
Just her face.
Okay. No, and it's like part of me was like, oh, this is when she becomes Daredevil. This is when she learns how to like fight without seeing, and I'm sure that'll come into play later or something. But it didn't seem like a big enough deal to warrant that.
No.
So I don't know if it's gonna matter, but
they didn't have the CG or the budget. There's a part where she gets like kicked into a glittery sign, and I was like, oh, she could be coated in like fucking glitter, and you could fight her like that.
I'm glad that you mentioned that because look, listen, learn. Learn is in glitter and stuff, and that was my first thought was, oh, we're gonna get this invisible bitch glittery, and we don't do that. It's very disappointing.
I can see how that would be hard to do now, especially then. So I understand it. Yeah,
I understand, but I was still like, are they gonna do it? Are they gonna go for it? This is amazing. But overall, I liked this episode.
Yes.
Parts of it are goofy and stuff, but honestly, the parts that are serious between Cordelia's self-awareness about popularity in school, contrasted with Clea Duvall's I think as a young kid, I think that I would have identified with like this idea. Her in the bathroom when she's trying to like make the joke and then no one acknowledges it and then someone steals. Like I used to have people steal my jokes in school.
Did you guys see this toupee? I mean, it looks like a cabbage.
Don't say a joke loud enough; it gets repeated by someone else. And they get credit.
Oh, and did you guys check out that extreme toupee? Yeah, that's realistic. It looked like a cabbage.
And they get credit. And I was like little, something so dumb, because I didn't eventually disappear, to the best of my knowledge. There were a few years there where I'm not sure if people could see me, but generally speaking, yes, I think that's a super good like metaphor for how you could feel as a kid and stuff, which is awesome, because this is a show for like teens, right? And it's a nice little thing.
That's a great, memorable episode.
Yeah.
All right, guys, so that's episode 11. Let us know in the comments what you thought about it. Don't die in a fire, and we'll see you next time.
Hello, internets. I just love watching JustDaggers. If you've enjoyed this video as much as I have, click that subscribe button. Peace out, homies.